In today's episode of History Factuality, we will uncover the native lands of the Albanians or Shqiptars. The demographics of today's Albanian land are very minimal to its once original beginning. The fact that the Albanians are the descendants of ancient Pelasgian is still a theory amongst the Western world, but a fact of knowledge to Albanians who always proclaim themselves as an ancient people, whether it being through linguistic similarities with the Illyrians whom descend from Pelasgian people, or ancient laws combining moral compositions with similarities to the modern-day Albanian Besa. A similar law which the Pelasgian and Illyrians lived by, which is studied under the Trojan Wars surrounding the kidnapping of Helen and the civil war between Illyria and the Pelasgian colonies. Or the similarities with traditions and cultures such as the police, which the Pelasgians and today's Albanians wear. Or the DNA EV13 connecting the lands of today's ancient Peloponnese and modern-day Albanian autochthone, which under the ancient times were the most powerful regions and connects the Illyrian colonizations to Italy and Peloponnese, and other tribes still situated and assimilated with Slavic tribes in Dalmatia, Croatia, and parts of Bosnia, undermining that these incredibly sensitive claims do not get linked with any other ethnic groups in the Balkans, but it's still a theory because of the outrage it could possess to modern-day independences in the Balkans. But what happened to these Pelasgian lands, you may ask? After the Trojan Civil War, the fall of the Pelasgian East Minor colonization had begun. As the Roman Empire rose, the Illyrians waged war for decades, although defeated 168 before Christ. The new Roman province of Illyricum was established. This creation led to well-known Albanian Roman leaders, such as Diocletian, Constantine the Great, the Dardanian Justinian the Great, the Dardanian Claudius II Gothicus, Aurelian, Diocletian, and many more. As the Roman Empire later fell, the lands of Eastern Europe experienced a massive influx of Slavic immigrants. The Slavs came in massive numbers, inhabiting and waging war. This consequence led to early inhabitants going down further and further down, being today's Serbia, Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, to a point where ancient Pelasgian Illyrian Albanians were cramped up, but still united and not massively integrated by Slavs, which the southern and eastern parts failed to enhance. At that period, from the 10th to 15th century, the Albanian modern-day autochthone was actively relevant because of the better relations with the Serb-Slavic people and the common enemy of the Turks or Ottomans. At this period, the Ottoman waged large-scale wars and ethnic cleansing on inhabited Albanians, severely damaging religious faith but boosting the nationalistic sphere. The Ottoman invasion led to further mass migration to Italy and the Ottoman Empire. As a result of Ottoman defeat, Albanian children were offered to the Ottoman as a burden of tax and an acceptance of defeat. This doomed the Albanians to grow as they were used as soldiers to the Ottoman Empire and not to its own recognitional progress. As a result, the areas of the Balkans were still and not much movement in terms of geo-ethnic terms, but what changed in these areas were religion. Majority of the early inhabitants of Albanians into Greece, Macedonia, Montenegro did not fully convert into Islam and instead remained with the Orthodox faith. The Ottomans, Greek and Serbs during the 18th to 19th century conducted secret artifacts of ethnic assimilations on Albanians on their autochthone land. The deals included the removal of Albanians in the autochthone parts of Serbia, whom the Ottomans were to receive as many of them were Muslims, and thus smoothen the assimilation process for the generations to come. Areas as high as modern-day city of Niš in Serbia were once a majority ethnic Albanian land, all the way down to Pločnik and the current demographics of Kosovo. More than 200,000 Albanians were documented transported to Turkey. The Serbs quickly colonized these ethnic Albanian lands, so they were not to be returned by Albanians anytime soon. The Montenegrin lands were Albanians of faith to the Orthodox tree of Christianity, similar to those in Greece. Most in those areas weren't deported, but they were assimilated into Montenegrin names. This contributed greatly with their already similar faith, and the idea of Albanians only being Muslims quickly derived as a misleading fact of manipulation amongst the Slavic and Hellenic governments.
Κοιτάξτε να δείτε, στη Θεσσαλία το 1300 περίπου υπήρχαν πολλοί Αλβανοί. Μετά για κάποιο λόγο η Θεσσαλία δεν έχει καθόλου Αλβανούς. Καθόλου. Πώς ήταν το ποσοστό? Εξαρτάται από την περιοχή. Λέτε της Ελλάδας, το 1830. Κάτι στα 40% θα ήταν. Αφού κάτω. Λοιπόν, για να πάτε και στο νοσοκομείο, πια να μην στο προηγούμενο μάθημα, οι Οθωμανοί κάνανε απογραφές κάθε 5-10 χρόνια, σε κάθε περιοχή. Συνήθως γράφουν μόνο το θρήσκευμα. Δεν μιλάνε για εθνικότητες, δεν ήταν κάτι που τους ενδιέφερε. Αλλά στο 15ο αιώνα, για κάποιο λόγο, στην Πελοπόννησο, ο απογραφέας έγραψε τι γλώσσα μιλάνε τα χωριά. Είμαστε στο 1461 στην Κορινθία και μας λέει ότι στην Κορινθία το 1461 από 9.881 νοικοκυριά, σας θυμίζω ότι η απογραφή γινόταν
η κοιτίδα του γένους του. Η κοιτίδα του γένους είναι η πόλη. Γιατί είναι Ορθοδοξία και ελληνική γλώσσα. Αν δεν υπήρχαν οι Βυζαντινοί, η λιτή γλώσσα στα Βυζαντινά σώθηκε. Από τους Βυζαντινούς σώθηκε και η δημοτική. Λοιπόν, δεν θα μιλούσαμε όπως μιλάμε, δεν θα ήμασταν όπως ήμασταν. Λοιπόν, είναι οι μόνοι που δεν ελευθέρωσαν την πόλη, την πρωτεύουσά τους. Όχι την πρωτεύουσά τους, την κοιτίδα του γένους είπα. Την κοιτίδα του γένους. Λοιπόν, για να παρηγορηθούν τι κάνανε. Τον Περικλή. 8.000 σπίτια η Αθήνα το 1831, εκ των οποίων τα μισά χωρίς στέγη, και οι οποίοι περισσότεροι ήταν Αλβανοί. Το πρώτο αλβανικό, αν θέλετε, το πρώτο αλβανικό λεξικό, ποιανού είναι, το ξέρετε? Του Μπότσαρη. Του Μπότσαρη. Ο Μπότσαρη.
This was the start of the betrayal from the Slavs and Hellenics against Albanians who lended them lands and fought for their independences. They gave their best, but as the best goes, the ones whom does not respect it shall not be forgiven. Most of the Albanians who for millenniums lived in the areas of Greek Peloponnese, Chameria, Athens, in fact most of today's Greece were of Albanian ethnic majority. Mid-18th to 19th century with the start of mass immigration of Asia Minor people of background which mixed the population of today's Greece. Even though the Arvanite Albanian tribe consisting of around a minimum of 500,000 to a million living in Greece are today rather integrated and assimilated into the Hellenic identity. These instances can be seen rather clear in today's divided societies and identity dilemma in Greece. Called Arvanites, the Arvanites are seen as the heroes of Greeks fighting for their independence and for the Greek identity. Well, those Arvanites are of Albanian descent with Albanian traditional clothes called fustanella, which is Greeks' national folk clothes. This same manipulation of ethnic identity grew in today's Macedonia, inhabited by 30% of Albanian descent, not numbering in those whom were assimilated into the Slavic society. Such instances are very clear in Macedonia, such as the regions of Upper Reka and villages such as Vribiani.
Po ju ku e keni mësu Shqipen?
Po vaktu me fëmijin. Unë atë gjuhë nuk e merr vesh.
Po mirë, ju jeni shqiptara Maqedon?
Makedonçi.
Po si e keni mësu Shqipen këtu?
Kako?
Si e keni mësu Shqipen këtu?
A vetë si kažuam imamo albanski kuqi?
Jo, nuk e kuptojnë kështu, do ma thosh Shqip.
E pa nuk e di shkoni që da kush tjetër da u diftojnë, unë nuk di.
Po Shqipen ku e ke mësu? Këtu?
Me baben e me nonën.
Po, njerëzit pse të gjithë flasin Shqip tu?
Pse nuk u vendojnë ma? Vdishaja. Askush nuk u vendon Shqip.
Po pse?
Pa nuk don, nuk e di, Makedonçi.
The only intact Albanian people were those in the inner circle of the Albanian autochthon bordering Albania. The same structural ethnic cleansing took place at a much larger site and a more vicious pace in the 1990s when the Serbs ethnically cleansed Kosovo Albanians. A grave mistake for the non-Albanians in the Balkans, as the new Dardanian direct descendants of the Trojans returned in the Balkans independently. Arguably the strongest Illyrian tribe, the Albanians as a people can be described as a victim of bullying, being beaten while he's already downed. But when he rises, he is unstoppable. This is the demographics of today's Albanian lands, consisting of independent Albania and Kosovo, with millions in its diaspora. This wraps this video up of History Factuality. Thank you for watching.